2 o'clock. That's not acceptable. This is the worst class in terms of punctuality I've come across online, that people are not coming on time. And in any case, in the 2 sections that I teach, I'm supposed to teach, there are very few who are attending. First year is full strength. They're all coming, but not the second year. So did you have an occasion to look at the 2 videos? One who has posted that? One is from Nidhi, and the other which I posted. Did you look at Nidhi's video? Ankit has? Again.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Nodding. Ananya hasn't. And I could relate to it very, very easily. You know, when earlier we used to, Soumya says network issue, but it is at your end. You can hear me, the other people?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so that's written already that I'm audible. Yeah, so now when we used to have colleagues meetings, and I usually was, you know, some or the other, usually some of the senior male colleagues were inviting other colleagues at home for having a meal together. And I used to be the only single female colleague. So I would be clubbed with the wives. So when all these male colleagues will sit in the room and all the wives were inside. And they were, of course, doing the cooking preparation and all that kind of thing. Or what we have conversation also among the women will have their own conversations, men will have their own conversations. So I was a woman and a colleague. And I did not fit into either of the 2 groups in the traditional sense. So I would be sent off to the women's group. And then I said, no, I put my foot down. How can you send me to the women's group? I'm a colleague group. But because there was no other woman colleague and they did not have, it was little interesting for me to be seen as a woman rather than a colleague in that group of teachers. And of course, I was among the very young colleagues. But I think for me, the pinnacle came one day I invited these colleagues, younger and senior, but all of them are primarily male colleagues. And I said to some of the younger colleagues who were my batchmates and all that, no, you should also come a little early so you can help me in the kitchen. And I found that not even one of them, I had about 20 people in my house, and not even one of my male colleagues turned up early to help me with the kitchen. And that was the last day I invited my colleagues home. I said, I'm not there to cook for them, and I know everybody would have a great time, and I'll be just running between the kitchen and their meals. And for me, that was one major incident where I realized that I was treated as the woman in the house rather than a colleague in the institution. And of course, in the institutional setup, I did not feel that. But when it came to the family spheres, I was categorized as a woman and not a colleague in both the meeting that I'm referring to. So certainly we have this very major divide between how you conceive of the woman colleague, whether she's a colleague when I'm in the faculty, but at home I was very categorically a woman and not a colleague. And I had to fight my way through this. I know this is not allowed. That if I'm a colleague in the workplace, I'm a colleague at the home sphere as well in your homes. So I'm friendly with all the wives, but that doesn't mean that I am a wife of somebody. So that's it. Second one, the second video, has anyone looked at? Ankit again said yes. Very sincere student, Ankit. I'm very impressed. You're doing all the things on time. Ananya has also been doing, but I think this weekend she was busy in something else. Hasn't found
I
it.
watched the transgender Lakshmi's all video. Like I did not see the classroom, but I personally watched it all. Like, but
Yeah.
second I did not
You know,
see.
she was a petitioner in Nalsa judgment. One of the, she was the intervener in Nalsa judgment, Nalsa case. And there has been lots of views about Lakshmi. One is views of Lakshmi, and the second one has been the views about Lakshmi. Lakshmi is born in a Brahmin family, a high-end and educated family. And she had the full support of her family as well in her education. She did her graduation with their support, and it's only around graduation that she came out openly as the other. And of course, the family got to know of it that she's the other through a TV news channel, news coverage of the event where she was participating in a sari. She wasn't showing this off to the family, but then she got revealed. I think she was ready by that time. So she has been kind of seen as the upper caste person, and her struggles are not really representative of many others who do not have the privileges which Lakshmi had. So that's again the conversation that, when you have one disability but not the others, your status is different than other people who have got lots of disabilities together, lot of status questioning together. You are poor, you are low caste, you are transgender also. Then your struggles are very different, and not everybody understand. And that's something which keeps on occurring in all the powerless people's struggles. That within the powerless also, how many who are more who are less powerful, or who are weaker than the other. The same has been talked about. We're talking about that in case of women also, that not all women are same. So that's true for any group. That, and for me, it kind of comes down to there are no two people even who are same. Everybody has their own individuality, but there would be certain generic traits which are shared in a certain group of people, and that's what we are worried about. Those traits lead us to the problem that lead us to. So, okay, that's the background conversation. I was still trying to figure out the presentation issues about the videos. And as it happens, when you talk to the technical persons on a certain issue, the technology works perfect. It doesn't pose the problem you've been facing. So today, when I was dealing with the UCC with this one, it was working just great, sharing the screen and all. So we'll deal with that as and when we go. But today, I thought I'll be on the safer side. I'll share the video beforehand. So any thoughts, Ankit, you have, and Ananya, on the videos that you have seen? Ananya, whatever videos you have seen of Lakshmi, and Ankit, the video I shared with you today.
Ma'am, in that video, she was mostly talking about her personal experience. And in the beginning, there was one line that she said that my femininity or my sexuality is like Ganges. It is flowing and it has many different curves. So that is something that explains how fluidity can be explained in sexuality. So I
Mm-hmm.
quite like that
Mm-hmm.
line. And then she was talking about she also mentioned the Nalsa judgment, not by name, but she mentioned that
Yeah.
the Supreme Court would give us the right to have another box. But there is one thing that keeps on going in my head, that even in the Nalsa judgment, why do we have to call the transgender as the third gender? Since then we will have to rank the first gender and the second gender.
Mm-hmm.
So why isn't there a hierarchy in that too?
Precisely. That's also one of the criticism of NALSA, that it does put them into the third category, and that also means that putting women in the second category. So it is not that women and men were one category and they were the other. So there have been these, and also, I mean, the terminology is semantics is a big issue. What is the term we should refer, we should choose? Because other is the other category, is the other one. So then again, said, okay, there are something which is noble, and then there is the other. So if you say that, then also there is a problem. If you say third, it is a problem. If you just say TG, then of course the problem is that it is such a big term that people lose their identity within TG. So it's an ongoing struggle to find the right word. And after finding the noun for them, we also have to find the verbs for the pronouns for them. So what should be the pronouns in those categories? and whether this has to be left individually to each one of them. And I think we're all in the phase where we are still learning even the issues. Solutions, finding the solutions is a later stage. At this stage, we are even trying to understand what the issues are. And so that's a good observation, that why they are called third. And in fact, also what struck me, as and when it happened, that for us as teachers, we read the same judgments over and over again for every year, and new things strike to us. And this time, the thought was that whether Nalsa judgment is actually limited only to Hijras, even though they don't talk about a lot of other groups also which come in the TG. But Sikri's judgment is very categorically saying that when we are referring to TG, we are primarily referring to Hijras. And they had this whole string of Hijra, Kinnars, and I'll read that part. So there are all these 5, 6 categories which are similar to Hijras. So the conversation we had on identities, where we say that, because when we say Hijra, it's a very categorical, culturally identifiable group of people within the T. But that is not the only category of T. So whether NALSA, when it talks about reservations in educational and job scenario, is it talking about reservation only for the for the Hijra community, or is it talking about the whole range of transgender that we talked about? So that's something which has opened up for me in this year's reading of the case. And I would want to hear your views about that. That what do you think? Because when you look at Radhakrishnan judgment, it's much wider. But Sikri in his thing has said very categorically that when he of course uses the word we, I'll come to that part. He says,
Para 108, I guess.
is it 108?
I guess.
Read.
It is to be emphasized that transgender in India have assumed distinct and separate class category, which is not prevalent in other parts of the world except in some neighboring countries. In this country, TG community comprise of Hijra, eunuchs, Kothis, Aravanis, Jogappas, Shiv Shaktis, etc. And then he defines what transgenders are in Indian community. Transgender are referred to as Hijra or third gender people. There exist wide range of transgender related identities, cultures or experience, including Hijras, Aravanis, Kothis, Jogtas, Jogappas, and Shivshaktis. And what are Hijras? They are biological males who reject their masculinity identity in due course of time to identify either as women or not men. Then they are identified as by different name in different places. Sometimes Hijra, Jogi Hijra are used to denote such male to female transgender person who are devotees of goddess Renuka and are also from Hijra community. Shiv Shaktis are considered as males who are possessed by or particularly close to goddess and who have feminine gender expression. They have the way they behave and act differs from the normative gender role of men and women. For them, furthering life is a far more difficult since such people are neither categorized as men or women, and deviation is unacceptable to the society at vast. So,
No, I'm looking at another different. I'm still trying to locate that. I did highlight it, but I can't find it right now. Where Justice Sikri does say that when we are using the word, we are referring to Hijras. Okay, before I'll continue looking at that. But the others, what is the what have you understood by the word transgender by reading the judgment? I'm asking people other than our standard. I think and the standard participants in our conversation have been so far Ananya, um, Medha, Ankit, Soumya, and Ria. They have been our usual participants, and I am assuming that they have still read and they have viewpoints. But anybody other than these people, Nidhi also have now joined. So anyone can speak. Ananya, as Ankit have spoken already. Whether other wants to say, what have you understood by the word transgender from this judgment? What is the range, or what are the range of categories included within this term? I'm waiting. Who are the petitioners in this case? Tell me that. Petitioners, interveners. Who are the parties to this case?
Ma'am, there was mainly two petitioners. First was NALSA, and the
Mhm.
other was some NGO. I'm forgetting its name.
Mhm.
NGO is Pujaya Mata Naseeb Kaur Ji Women Welfare Society. So they have filed separate petition, and NALSA has filed separate petition, and Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi was a intervener.
Okay. Why do you think NALSA would come to the Supreme Court? NGO coming to the Supreme Court is understandable. But this is the NALSA. National.
No particular reason has been mentioned, but it says that since NALSA has been formed to aid and assist those who cannot represent themselves, and since transgender and Hijra community is a very marginalized group of the community, so maybe they are helping them to get represented or filing the petition in Supreme Court.
Okay. So they're just taken it as a altruistic, as a no. They think it's their statutory responsibility to bring their cases. So it is not that they're not representing one individual TG. They're representing the whole community as such, without the community being there. So certainly other people join, but for me, this is a very novel role that NALSA chose for itself in this case. Otherwise, we have not come across that. So many other communities which are deprived, but it's an intriguing thing, and I have not really also found any answer through other conversations also. How NALSA decided this, that they should take up. Maybe we should invite somebody from NALSA to talk to us on this aspect, that how did they, what processes happen at NALSA itself. And that may give us some insight as to how certain groups can get other influential groups to take up their causes, etc. So that's another day. Someday we should be able to get that story out. So coming to the, we read judgments as precedents. So if you were to identify precedents, what is the ratio? Can you identify what are the ratio in this case, and what are the aspects of the judgment which is obita, which the judges have made observations about? Where in the
Like the
judgment?
observations about Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi's life and her initial struggles.
Mhm.
That would be Obiter Dicta.
Yeah, and also all the other stories of the other eunuchs, Siddharth, whatever his surname is, Siddharth something. So that they have given stories of some people up in addition to Lakshmi.
And the
So these are
historical
obita.
backgrounds as well.
Hmm?
The historical backgrounds as well of
The historical background, they're setting the stage for giving the judgment that they have given. So what will be the ratio in this case?
Article 51, interpreting the Constitution to extend the principles that is already existing in the Constitution. And like Article 51, reading that with Article 253, which is applying the international standards to the Indian context, and the precedent set in other judgments, and following through the principles set in those judgments, discussing how the international covenants they have laid down and interpreted their articles about the extending human dignity and extending
Those all the reference to the international covenants and principles, etc., is more to buttress the position they have taken. What are the articles of Indian Constitution which they have made reference to and which have changed their scope in their interpretation in the Indian Constitution?
14, 19, 21,
14, 15, 16, 19,
15,
21.
16,
and then the directive principles, reference to the directive principles also, which
51
are
that
read.
read with
Yeah, 51. 51 or 51A? What is 51?
51A is the
Is the directive fundamental duties.
duties. Yeah.
51A is fundamental duties. I don't think 51A is being referred. But I don't remember 51 also. What is 51?
It's the
Ma'am, Article 51 is promotion of international peace and security.
How would that be relevant? So can we locate anything in the judgment when they talked about 51? I don't remember seeing that, but there might, somebody have read it. So if you can locate that, we can have a look. Yes?
So Article 51 of the Constitutions, what they're actually trying to say is the court must interpret the language of the Constitution in light of the UN Charter and the declaration which is subscribed to it by India. I mean, what
Right.
they are meaning by that is.
So they've referred to Yogyakarta principles also. But for me, what is your understanding? For whom, which set of TGs is this judgment including? The binding directions are in the last 2 pages. So those directions, when they're saying the transgender community should be given this, what is our sense of who are not? Because when we went through the sessions on identities, we did say there's a whole lot of them. And Ananya also read out a whole lot of the categories they have referred along with the hijras. So Kothis were not hijras. Kothis are a different group of people in the terminology that we have understood earlier. So whether all the categories of transgender person, including transsexual, transvestite, everybody is included within this category, or whether it is only limited to hijra is my question for today. So what is our sense from reading of the judgment?
I think paragraph 107 talks about something in relation to how gays, lesbians, etc. could also come under the term transgenders, and also the last part of the judgment, the directions. It's hijras, eunuchs, and apart from any binary gender. These 3 categories are mentioned. So I think that these two provide a wider definition to the term, possibly.
Okay, let's look at this. We therefore declare hijras, eunuchs, apart from binary gender. There's only 2 categories referred to. We treated as third gender. It's only 2 categories, hijras and eunuchs.
Not non-binary people. Non-binary
No,
people.
apart from binary gender. They are not saying other than the binary gender. They're not saying that, no? Then hijra eunuchs, apart from binary gender, be treated as third gender. So whether this term, this sentence limits the application of this judgment only to these 2 categories?
Ma'am? Ma'am, in point 1, it is mentioned regarding hijras and eunuchs that they should be identified as the third gender. But in the second point, it's written that these people have the right to decide for their gender, and the state governments and the center should are directed to grant legal recognition of their gender identity, such as male, female, or the third gender. So even if a
Right.
person is
But
not a hijra or a eunuch, it's some other transgender. So the court has given them
but
the
from
liberty to
where? No, no,
decide
no,
for
no, no.
themselves.
Listen. Because we need to look at the first one to say who are the third gender.
Ma'am, is it when it says hijra, comma eunuchs, comma apart from binary gender, is it creating a subcategory between hijras and eunuchs? Because like hijra and eunuchs apart from binary gender. Um,
So
I
you are
don't know,
saying that
is
the
it
third
inclusive
gender
or
is
apart from binary
what
gender?
you are saying. What you are saying that we can read it to say that the third gender includes, which means it is not means. If you have to use the word third gender means hijra eunuchs, then it is limited category. But if we say third gender includes hijra eunuchs, then we can include the other categories also. So how do you read this sentence itself? Because we need to look at when we look at Radhakrishnan's thing. Let's go to Radhakrishnan. He talks about all this. Then he comes to first it only uses the TG. Then
Ma'am, in the concluding points, it's written hijra / transgenders as well. So is it like it's equivalent to मतलब they are only referring to when they
look,
refer to
para
hijra?
11. For para 11, transgender is generally described as an umbrella term for persons whose gender identity, gender expression, or behavior does not conform to their biological sex. So when you use this phraseology, then transgender includes each one of these categories, means gender identity, expression, and behavior. Also takes in persons who do not identify with their sex assigned at birth, which include, here the word you use is include, hijras, eunuchs, and this is used as oblique, who in this repetition describe themselves as third gender. So it is a terminology coming from themselves. It's not that the court has given, they say that in their repetition, they have described themselves as third. And they do not identify as either male or female. Hijras are not men by virtue of anatomy, appearance, and psychologically. They're also not women, though they are like women with no female reproduction organ and no menstruation. Since hijras do not have reproduction capacities as either men or women, they are neither men or women and claim to be an institutional third gender. Then there is within the hijras itself, emasculated, non-emasculated, and intersex persons. TG also includes persons who intend to go SRS or have undergone SRS. So that's the third group. So we have hijras as one group, intersex as another group. Third one is SRS. There are persons who like to cross, so transvestite aa gaye. Recently, the term transgender in contemporary has become an umbrella term which is used to describe a wide range of identities and experiences, including but not limited to preoperative, postoperative, non-operative transsexual people who strongly identify with gender opposite to their biological sex, male and female. And then we can skip the historical part of it. Though in para 16 they say, we notice that even though historically hijras transgender persons had played a prominent role, with the onset of the colonial rule, the Criminal Tribes Act was enacted, and it gives us, the whole para gives us what kind of criminalization happened, and it is because of this that we are saying that today we have an excluded category. But all this was applying to this limited category of transgender eunuchs, to the hijras and eunuch category. Section 377, and then we have this case of Queen Empress versus Kherati, in which he was left off, but it certainly brought out the whole issue. Then Suresh Komal Kaushal, they say very categorically that we are not dealing with the aspect of sexuality. So this is very important, just before para 19, the last part of 18, the division, the court is categorical that we are not dealing with sexuality. So that's an important thing to notice, that while constructing transgender, the court in this judgment has categorically not considered sexuality as part of individual's identity. So, which means that 377, if they had having any kind of sexual relationship, they can still be held. No, they could by the NALSA judgment till the time Navtesh Chauhar happened, they could still be criminalized for sexual activity. So, in constructing human beings, we are saying this set of human beings will have got no sexual desires or orientation or activities in nature. So whether sexuality is part of human rights or sexuality is beyond human rights. And when we say human rights, these are to be distinguished from the legal rights and the constitutional rights, which we say which are given by the constitution, which are given by the law. But human rights are innate in the human being. So whether having sexual partners, having sexual expression is an innate human right, or is it something given by the state? And can so when this judgment does say you will give them this, but so whether then it kind of brings out the question that if they are saying they are not dealing with sexuality, then whether right to marry can be read in this judgment, because at some point the judges are saying that they are entitled to all the human rights which other humans have, other citizens have. So if they have all the rights, then this whole question of marriage, of having sex, having sexual partners, adopting children, all that should be part of this judgment, should be read in this judgment. But by that one sentence that we're not dealing with it. So everything which is not a childbirth, adoption is all connected with the progeny part of it. So, of course, IVF is non-sexual progeny. And but at this point of time, the judges in this para, whatever that para number was, have very categorically said that we are not dealing with this aspect. So we do not want to cross over. Then in gender identity, they explain all this. And you should all read the social orientation. They've differentiated the two. Then they are referring to the UN, nations and other human rights bodies. Lots of these categories there, and we can focus on the Yogyakarta principle. After quoting all the principles, the court noted the following. We've edited that out here, I think. Council of Europe, etc. have endorsed the Yogyakarta principles. Sexual orientation and identity, other status as recognized Article 2, excludes sexual orientation. So all this is SRS and foreign judgment. They're all saying that lot of places, lot of literature is there, legal provisions are there, which are recognizing the gender identity of people other than men and women. But then, and Justice Radhakrishnan judgment nowhere says that he is limiting it to two categories. And that is where I was struck when I looked at the Sikri's judgment. The Human Rights Convention judgment referred to be mainly related to transsexual, who while belonging physically to one sex will convince that they belong to the other. This is para 34 I'm reading. Seek to achieve a more integrated and unambiguous identity by undergoing medical and surgical operations to adapt their physical characteristic to their psychological nature. When we examine the right of transsexual persons who have undergone SRS, the test to be applied is not the biological test, but psychological test, because psychological factor and thinking of transsexual has to be given primacy, then binary notion of gender of that person. Seldom people realize the discomfort, distress, and psychological trauma they undergo, and many of them undergo gender dysphoria, which may lead to mental disorder. Discrimination faced by this group in our society is rather unimaginable, and their right to be protected irrespective of chromosexual sex, genitals, assigned birth sex, or implied gender role. Rights of transgenders, pure and simple, like hijra, eunuchs, etc., have also to be examined. So also their right to remain as a third gender, as well as their physical and psychological integrity. Before addressing this aspect further, we may also refer to few legislations. Then they refer to number of legislations. What I'm interested to know is that what we should also be doing after reading what the judges have said in this judgment, then to look at the act which has come. and compare as to what the direction was from the court and what is it that the actual legislation has come. Para 43, we have referred exhaustively to the various judicial pronouncements and legislations internationally that the recognition of sex identity, gender of persons, and guarantee to equality and non-discrimination on the grounds of gender identity and expression is increasing and gaining acceptance. So we also saying, oh, we were very good with hijras. Hijras are biological males who reject their masculine identity in due course of time to identify either as men or not men, or in between man and woman, or neither man nor woman. Hijras can be considered as the Western equivalent to transgender, transsexual persons, but hijras have a long traditional culture. There are regional variations. And then we have this one. The other day, the Banchuran was asking the distinction between kinna. But in Lakshmi's statement also, she uses this alternatively. Some places they're called kinna, sometimes some places they're called as hijras. And they do the badhai, etc. Eunuch refers to an emasculated male, and intersex to a person whose genital are ambiguously male-like at birth. But this is discovered the child previously assigned to the male sex would be recategorized as intersex as a hijra. Aravanis and Tirunangis, hijras in Tamil identifies as Aravani. So there's a language difference there. Kothis are heterogeneous groups. Kothis can be described as biological males who show varying degrees of femininity. But we don't know that these are the, within the homosexual partners also, there might be somebody refers to as Kothi. Jogappas, persons who are dedicated to serve as servant of goddess Renuka Devi, whose temples are present in Maharashtra and Karnataka. Male servant of that goddess, and Jogti refer to the female servant. One can become a Jogta if it is part of their family tradition, or if one finds a guru who accepts him or her as a chela. Sometimes the term Jogti, hijras, is used to denote those male to female transgender persons. Shiv Shaktis are considered as males who are possessed by the particularly close to a goddess and who have feminine gendered expressions. So when you look at all this terminology, para 45, transgender people as a whole face multiple forms of oppression in this country. And the facts and figures relating to the group of people in different categories. Multiple problems are faced, and then looking at the recommendations, train, clarify ambiguous legal status, develop, open up. India to follow international documents. Para 49, Indian law on the whole only recognizes the paradigm of binary genders of male and female based on person's sex assigned by birth, which permits gender system, including the law relating to marriage, adoption, inheritance, succession, taxation, and welfare legislations. So it is very categorical, putting this on board that the limitations within the Indian legal system, especially in the area of the personal laws, when you have marriage, adoption, inheritance, succession, taxation and welfare beyond the family law, but these are they're very categorically referring to the personal law aspects which denies the third their rights. So whether this judgment address this aspect, because when you look at the so whatever when I was saying obiter and the ratio, so the directions given at the end of the judgment are certainly binding. So they are certainly the operative part of the judgment. But the fact that in section 49, in para 49 here in Radhakrishnan judgment, and I think 103 or 113 of Sikri's judgment, they do refer to this whole range of rights there, which the transgender people are, which are available only to the paradigm of binary genders of the men and women. So whether this judgment says that all this whole range of rights or the laws relating to all these aspects should also be made available to the trans people. That's where my question about that was, this is also whether it is only a by the way statement, or whether it is whether the judges have done something. So judges do recognize in this para that there's a whole range of areas where the transgender community has been excluded because these laws deal with only male and female. But have they done anything about this? That's my, that's the question I want you to examine when you're reading this judgment. And this is there in both in Radhakrishnan judgment as well as in Sikri's judgment. 253, to make laws for enforcing the international obligations. Then come to 51. State shall endeavor to promote international peace, security, maintain just and honorable relations between nations, foster respect for international law, encourage settlement of international disputes. This to be read along with 253. Article 14 and transgender. So anyone, what is it that the judges have said about this?
About what? I did not get your question.
Article 14 and transgender. So in connection with transgender, how has Article 14 been interpreted?
Ma'am, Article 14 mentions person.
Mm-hmm.
So in persons, everybody is included, Indians, foreigners, and all the genders and sexes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't categorize persons into subcategory.
Right. So so what we are saying is that wherever in the law the word person appears, it should be including all persons. But then we are faced with Article 14 easy because it is using the word person. But if a section or all this law they are referring to in the personal laws, marriage, etc., when they are using the word male and female, then whether the right to marry, for example, is available to persons or is it available only to males and females? If Article 14 says persons, so other laws which are using the term male and female, whether in all those places should the word person be substituted?
Ma'am, if the term male and female is substituted by persons in all the family law, then India will basically accept same-sex marriages also, because a person gets married to a person, so anybody can marry anybody.
No, what I'm asking you is that whether this judgment, when it interprets Article 14 in that manner, can we extend the argument and say that when we are talking, so all the laws which will be using the word person are very categorical to be understood in this sense only. There will be no problem at all on that. So when IPC, for example, uses the term person, it says person includes, the definition of person in IPC says person includes corporated or incorporated bodies also. It uses the word includes. It doesn't tell what it means. So then that usage of the person will include male, female, transgender, as well as the unincorporated, incorporated bodies as well. So there you've got fictitious legal persons as well as the real human beings. But very categorically, that word is inclusive of that. So freedom of movement, is it available to citizens or it is available to persons? Right to life, again, says persons. I think freedom of movement is citizens, but right to life is no person. So in those articles or legal provisions where the word person has been used, it will be categorically, automatically be interpreted to mean that. But our problem is still on this inclusion of the family law affairs within the set of areas where binaries have regulated the law. whether Nalsa judgment does anything to address that aspect. So therefore, what was the para number I was saying? 93 or 99? What was it? Where the no.
Ma'am, 54. Article 14 is in para 54.
Article 14. No, when there's the para where they were saying that it is limited, the areas of it is limit, areas of marriage, divorce, etc. are limited to binary only. It was that para. Article 15 makes connection between 1516 to transgender. Sought to prohibit discrimination on the basis of sex, recognizing that sex discrimination is a historical fact and needs to be addressed. For the reason of both gender and biological attributes constitute distinct components of sex. Biological characteristics of course include genitals, chromosomes, secondary sexual features, but gender attributes include one's self-image. Discrimination on the ground of sex under 15 and 16 therefore includes discrimination on the ground of gender identity. The expression sex used in 15 and 16 is not just limited to biological sex of male and female, but intended to include people who consider themselves to be neither male or female. So that is now a clarification on 15 and 16. So we got a clarification on 14, we got another one on 15 and 16. Then 15.2 is not subjected to any disability. TG have also not been offered special provisions envisaged in 15.4 for the advancement of the socially economically backward classes. So from there, the direction has come that they should be given reservations, right? You can see the line of reasoning and how the scope of this section, these articles have been expanded. TGs have also been denied rights under Article 16.2 and discriminated against in respect of employment or office under the state on the ground of sex. TGs are also entitled to reservation in the matter of appointment as envisaged under 16.4. So they have very categorically included TGs into Article 15 and 16. Even though they were not specifically there and they have been discriminated, this case recognizes this discrimination, saying this is against the Constitution and not permitted. Article 15.2 and 4 and Article 16.4 read the directive principles and various international instruments to which is a party call for social equality, which the TGs could realize only if facilities and opportunities are extended to them so that they can live with dignity and equal status. So the direction for reservation is coming from this reasoning. Then in case of 19.1a, anyone?
It includes right to freedom of expression, free speech and expression, and accepting your gender identity comes under the free expression. That
Right. So we have an expansion of, no, these are clarification. These are not, no, these were there, but ignored. Yes?
I had a note or a question regarding to the definition of sex and what it's aiming to include. That it says that it aims to include the expression sex used in Article 15 and 16, not limited to biological sex of male or female, but intended to include people who consider themselves to be neither male or female. And from what I've understood from like discourse generated by transgender people themselves, they say that they have been assigned male at birth or female at birth, and they consider themselves to be female or a woman or a male and a man. So I would like disagree with the understanding that they consider themselves to be neither male or female.
Yeah, no. In fact, this when you read this judgment today, when it came, it was path breaking. But today we do realize that the judges themselves has mixed up statements, that that categorization of persons and their understanding is very limited, but it's an opening of the conversation. So it's an important judgment from that perspective. But you will find that they have confused many times. So certainly the transgender person is not that I do not think of myself either as a male or female. It may be that I have a male body and I feel like a female. So I'm not saying I'm not a woman, but biologically I'm not a woman. So that is the category which is very much recognized in TG in our social understanding. But this case does make those kind of confusing statements in a number of places. It's not a very consistent usage of the word TG. So that's what I was saying, that when it in the directions it says eunuchs and hijras are entitled to. So whether they were actually limiting them to only this category, because the judgment is very confusing in terms of who are the person they're talking to. So are they talking about the whole gamut of people there? So at some stage they do say, but at the other places they kind of make a mistake about what we will say that their understanding of the terminology they have used is not very consistent in this judgment.
They also
So if we
never.
start reading the judgment from the perspective of the terminology we know today, they have that specific meaning, we will get much more confused. If we say, okay, because they said TG is an overarching umbrella term and therefore where TG occurs, or whether even the other word occurs, hijra and eunuchs are very limited category of TG. So we'll say, no, we have to read TG everywhere. Whether they are saying hijra, they are saying TG, it is TG only. Then it makes much more sense. But if we read this judgment as a lawyer, then we run into a lot of difficulty. And there's another thing about reading socially active, socially socially advanced, or what we say, that socially sensitive judgments. The same goes about the legislations also. So as lawyers, we are caught in a bind. If you read this judgment as a lawyer and try to make meaning of every para and sentence, then you will find lots of contradictions there. At one point they're saying this thing, at another point they're saying something else. But if you read it from the spirit of the judgment, what is it that the judges were trying to achieve? Then it's easy reading. So instead of, because as lawyers we are taught to compare and contrast. This word means this word, has been given this meaning here, and therefore at another it should have the same meaning. But in this judgment, if you start, and I also come across that when you read this judgment as a whole, the usage of terminology is not consistently there, and their expressions are also questionable at times. So that may be the weakness of the judgment. But what is the strength of the judgment? It has really opened up a whole conversation which was not there in our legal system. And it has certainly made an advancement. What it could have done is another story. That what it could have done, but it did not do. So certainly the judges have this whole concept of judicial restraint, because of which they could not get onto the sexuality aspect because the matter was already pending before a review petition was already pending. So they had to restrain themselves because of that factor, because they are also a similar bench and they cannot say, okay, we will take over that matter also and make a decision. So judicial restraint, the judicial discipline also creates a problem. The other thing is also because it's the first time judiciary is even entertaining this terminology. It is the same with us also. We do not know the terminology with the community people, the people belonging to the TG community. It's an evolving language. And sometimes, one student of mine started using cis as referring to human beings. And she would say, instead of saying his or her, she will say, let's not forget.
Cisgendered man or woman.
No, cis to ठीक है. No, his के लिए कुछ और word है ना? His and her के लिए.
HIX, I think. HIX. And there are like a lot of...
No. There was another one she was using. So, when people when Professor Bakshi started using she instead of he, for us that was kind of striking, that he would always say she did this, she did that, and we were used to hearing he as inclusive of she, but not she as inclusive of he. Zir, she says zir. So instead of his on her, she says zir. Zir property, zir name, like that. So she is constantly using that terminology. If it goes to a person who has not been exposed to this language itself, they'll be very confused as to what she's talking about. Now also, no, now the another pronoun has come is they. So for us, the grammar has gone completely haywire, that how can you refer to a singular person as they? Whatever computers initially was not accepting, it was always saying, you get the blue lines, no, saying that there's a grammatical mistake. So previously, if you are talking about singular person, then you have to say his or her property. But now you can say that one can have their property. One's property was another possibility used to prevent not using his or her. But now the grammar has accepted that even though you're talking about singular persons, you can still use their. So language is also undergoing a lot of change, but not everybody is exposed to that changed language, and they might still take you about the grammar you learned in the school in especially our age group. Your age group have also perhaps grown up with the proper language, but now the language, the grammar is changing itself. And it's now we are getting in the newspaper information that my preferred pronoun is they. But how can you be they? Hindi mein to hum ja rahe the. Lot of the people from UP and Bihar use that phrase of hum, singular being plural. So बोलता हाँ भाई हम तो royal hum है ये. पहले राजा महाराजा करते थे हम ये करते थे. अभी individuals can also do that. The same is happening to this group of people. So they said no, we should refer to as they. Why this person be not a singular he or she, because वो तो he or she में है ही नहीं. Third को फिर हम करके Z कहेंगे, पता नहीं क्या क्या कहेंगे. We have to kind of evolve the terminology. In Nalsar, I think the only person who got a degree without the MS or MR was MX. So she said, no, I do not want to be identified as a male or a female. So I want a degree with MX. So certainly language is evolving. And so this whole point that which Soumya was raising about the judges saying that it means not being either male or female, it's just showing that they do not have still command over the language. That's my understanding of their judgment, that they still haven't, and it's not unusual. We are all struggling with language. The judges are all struggling with language. So I will read it more as an example of still struggling with the concepts which are not familiar to us, rather than wanting to exclude these others. I think this is only one part of the understanding of the teaching, that some of them may feel that I'm neither man nor female. And Hijras also, some of them say I'm a non-man. And I just read that part in the judgment, but that some other place they are saying that some Hijras, they think they are women, something we are not men. They say we are neither man nor women. So you do have a whole range of identities within the people themselves. And that's again going back to their 7 color, the rainbow flag. The range of people within the group is so great that in this judgment also, the range of sentences and formulation they have used, we have to see it more as an inclusive category rather than an exclusionary definition or depiction of those people. So you're right on picking that sentence up, and that there are many like that there. And that's what I was picking on Sikri's sentence, which I tried to phrase. They said that transgender, we are referring to Hijras and eunuchs. So then Justice Sikri in one sentence said that very specifically there. And that is where when you read the judgment as a full, and if you look at the spirit of the judgment, then we'll have to ignore these anomalies in the formulations. But as a lawyer, we thrive on anomalies only. So whether we want to read this judgment as a lawyer, or we want to read the judgment as social activist, or as people who are affected by that pen, then we would want to give it a wider interpretation. But if you want to, say no, these people have to exclude it, this judgment doesn't do that, you will have a different viewpoint. I think it's time for us to stop. It had been time for us to stop for a long time. We stop it, and this has to continue tomorrow with Arun Kumar, because Arun Kumar relies on this judgment to grant marital rights to a man to a trans woman. and he relies on Nalsa. And it's a very, I really like that judgment, and I had different feelings every time I've read this judgment, and my feelings are still evolving on Arun Kumar, but very interesting judgment. Look at that judgment, read the reasoning he has given, very beautifully written judgment. So where it is taking us forward and where it can lead to obstructions as well. So with that, everybody has marked your attendance, I assume? So then we see you tomorrow. Stop recording.